Welcome to Expiscore, the weblog of Stephen Hall, Director General of the WorldFish Center. In these blogs, Steve gives his personal reflections on current topics and areas of debate in the realm of fish and development. In this blog, Steve reflects on the outcomes of SeaWeb's Seafood Summit held in Hong Kong in early September. He refers particularly to the great challenges facing the seafood industry.
I was recently fortunate enough to attend SeaWeb's 10th International Seafood Summit in Hong Kong. Fortunate for two reasons. First, because I had the honour of addressing the conference in an opening plenary presentation. Second, because I got to listen to a remarkable array of talks exploring solutions for ensuring a sustainable supply of seafood to meet the world's growing demand and need. When Christian Telecki, the Vice President of SeaWeb, first invited me to give the plenary address, he asked me to challenge and provoke the audience. He was especially keen that I provide delegates with some alternative perspectives to think about. To do that, I chose to focus part of my talk on what I see as one of the great challenges for the seafood industry. That challenge is to more explicitly recognise and accommodate the many polarities in the fish food system. What do I mean by polarities? Well, in management, polarities are interdependent opposites that must often be balanced for an enterprise to function at its best. Within the fish food system, one such polarity is that we get supply from both marine and fresh water. So what, you might ask? Well, the problem is that despite the importance of freshwater fish production, we tend to ignore it. For example, several funding agencies with an interest in ensuring sustainable fish supplies have adopted ocean initiatives that focus exclusively on marine systems. Without the concomitant investment in freshwater fisheries and aquaculture, a key element of the system will be neglected. Another polarity is between the small and large-scale fisheries. Unfortunately, most of the discussion and efforts to ensure sustainability focuses on the large scale, with much less attention to the small-scale fisheries that supply the bulk of the fish and employ most of the people. Taking developing countries as a whole, for example, 91% of fishers are employed in the small-scale sector. Again, more balance is needed. Of course, there's nothing wrong with prioritisation per se. Indeed, several sessions at the summit provided ample evidence for how far you can get through focused efforts. Take product certification schemes as a means for driving seafood sustainability as an example. The commitment by Sainsbury's that by 2020 all the fish they sell will be independently certified as sustainable is clear evidence of the power of this approach. But any single approach will always be partial, and we need to continually ask ourselves whether our attention and investments are appropriately balanced. Alternatives or adaptations to certification, for example, will almost certainly be needed to drive sustainability for products that enter local and regional markets and to meet the needs of poor consumers. I'm happy to say that several of the sessions during the summit did serve to balance the conversation in ways that I think are needed. Sessions on how impact investors can support small-scale aquaculture enterprises, and on how reform of small-scale fisheries in places like Mozambique and Cambodia is being tackled. They're both good examples of the change that's needed. These are encouraging signs, but we'll need to do more to encourage the breadth of coverage needed to ensure the sustainability of the fish food system as a whole. Listening to the conversations at the conference, I was also encouraged by how much talk there was about transformational change and the importance of collaboration and partnership to make progress. For me, this signals a growing maturity in the dialogue, especially between private sector companies and the conservation NGOs. This is a theme that was touched upon in the closing sessions when the evolution of the Seafood Summit over the past 10 years was discussed. Clearly, a lot's changed, most of it for the better, but my sense is that we're now entering a distinctly new era in which collaboration and partnership becomes ever more important. We now need to ask what the next level of collaboration and partnership should look like. We also need to ask what will prevent better collaboration and what will help us achieve it. That's going to require NGOs to ask themselves whether their role and mode of action needs to change in the coming decade. It'll require private sector participants to encourage other companies to participate in the dialogue. And it will also require international organisations like mine and researchers in universities and national institutions to reflect on how they might change to better inform and facilitate the movement that's needed to ensure a sustainable seafood supply. Reflecting on my 3 days in Hong Kong, I arrive at a sense of cautious optimism. Provided that we focus on building the durable and trusting relationships that are needed, I'm optimistic that we can navigate and respond to the many challenges that the fish food system faces and the challenges that it's going to face into the future.
Thank you for listening to the podcast for Expiscor, the weblog of Stephen Hall. If you've got any comments or feedback for Steve on this podcast, go to www.worldfishcenter.org and post them to the blog, or email expiscor@worldfishcenter.org. Also, be sure to find